Hello, and welcome to another edition of the Faith to Faith Gospelcast. Today's special guest is actually it's a follow-up from season 2, where we had John Stokes, and it was a really great episode. We got a lot of good feedback. It was very funny, and I thought we'd do a follow-up here in season 3 with said brother of John Stokes, Alan Ewing. Just kidding, Alan Stokes. We'll be back right after this. Welcome to the Faith to Faith Gospelcast, where we talk about all things related to God, faith, missions, leadership, side hustles, and what Jesus is doing in the next generation. I'm your host, Tommy Ashiro, and I want to welcome you to the program. If you like what you hear, hit the subscribe button and come back for a new episode each week. With all that said, let's jump into today's episode. We're back with Alan Stokes and actually guest producer John Ford on the board. Yeah.
Yo.
Chopped cheese. Nice. But it's all about you today, Alan.
That scares me, Grandpa Tom.
Oh, wow. You're going to go there?
Yeah. You're Grandpa Tom. Everyone knows you as Grandpa
husband Tom. Of Cheyenne.
Yeah.
Actually, most of the family on your side probably knows you because of Cheyenne. They probably learned about you by following Cheyenne on Instagram.
Yeah. My nephews, every single time they see me, they're just like, hey, it's Aunt Shay and her husband. I'm just like, I've known y'all for your
that
entire
makes
life.
Sense. Just like most people know about John through you. There's a theme here.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of hierarchy in the Stokes-Ewing dynasty.
Yeah, a lot of people know me from Cheyenne. There was this one time we were actually evangelizing in Nashville on Broadway. Uh-huh. And so we're out there with a group of people, and a couple girls come up to me, and they're like, hey, do you do social media? You look so familiar. I was like, yeah, I do a little bit of social media. And they're like, man, your voice sounds familiar too. I think we follow you. Like, that's awesome. And so, lo and behold, Cheyenne comes back from talking to the woman that she was talking to. They're like, oh, my goodness, you're Cheyenne's husband. That's how we know you. Or I think we were engaged at the time. So they're like, oh, my goodness, you're Cheyenne's fiance. That's how we know you. Amazing. Cheyenne, we love you. I was
That's
just like,
perfect. Wow. It's a special club to be in, the husbands of famous wives, I guess.
Yeah. Sure.
So actually, you guys are getting pretty close to your 1-year anniversary, right?
Mm-hmm.
And happy early anniversary, I guess. And
thank you so much.
And it was really cool. I think it was my first Gen Z wedding, actually. I think going to your wedding was the first Gen Z wedding. Pretty awesome. Pretty epic.
Awesome.
I'm not fully sure why we all had to wear pajamas.
That was what Cheyenne wanted to do.
Gotcha.
We were going for a childlike faith theme, and we also didn't want to be in suits, and she didn't feel like she could dance very well in her dress, so
makes sense.
We just decided to go for like a pajama worship, childlike faith type theme.
Lots of thoughts streaming through my head. One thought is, I think the Bible wants childlike, not childish.
Yes.
But that being said, without getting too serious too soon, the pajama theme really suited you guys as a couple,
Yeah.
Summer and I went running to Target to find any kind of version of some kind of pajamas that we threw together.
Good. You looks good, Tom.
In. Yeah. I got a cool Donkey Kong shirt out of it, which I like to wear that regularly now. So nice. My pajama top is now part of my staple wardrobe.
Nice.
Pretty much. So, married life, do you find it good, complicated, challenging, exciting?
All of the above.
All of the above.
Yeah. It's a lot different than what I expected, but it's not a bad difference.
What did you think it was going to be like?
Well, I've had roommates before in college, so whenever I think about living with someone in the same space, it's just like, okay, going to do our thing. And, in dating, it was like I had everything scheduled out. Wake up in the morning, spend time with God. Go to work, get back, shower, read my Bible a little bit, hang out with Cheyenne. 9 or 10 o'clock, head back to my place, play a little bit of video games, read my Bible, go to sleep, hit the repeat button. Had it all kind of planned out, dialed in. I was like, man, this is going to be an easy transition. Just instead of see you tomorrow, it'll be good night. Like, that's kind of in my mind how it went. It's totally different. It is way
That's
different.
actually really funny. I didn't know that.
It's way different.
It is very different, man. Yeah, that schedule, I can see how that wouldn't fit married life very well.
No, it doesn't work out.
And also follow-up questions like, and you didn't really sleep with your roommates, did you? Like, you didn't have them
in the
your
same
bed.
room.
I mean, yeah. So you didn't get bunk beds for your marriage either, did
No.
you? Yeah. See, the whole proximity thing is what makes marriage different. Because even though someone's in your space, they're like attached to you.
Yeah, you're doing life together.
Yeah, you're doing life. It's completely
I didn't know what that, like, it's not that I don't think I was ready for marriage necessarily, but until you're married, I don't think you realize what it's actually like, you know?
Yeah. So what's one thing that you've like learned to adjust and it is like part of your current state, like of how things have settled and worked for you?
I guess adjustment is just making sure that I meet her needs and that understanding that her needs vary from day to day. Some days she could be totally fine without me. Like if she sees me, it's just like, oh, hey, how's it going? And then there are some days I'll get home from work and it's just like, hey, I really need you. This is what's going on. Can you be with me? Can you do life with me today? So it's just attack the day as it comes.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I don't, it's cool to talk about marriage and stuff, but I'm sure that when Cheyenne comes on the podcast, that's going to be a huge topic.
Oh, for sure.
I'm going to digress to a different place. Just talk about kind of our friendship and how we got started hanging out. So I met you. It's been a few years now. It's probably 3 years.
3 years.
3 years ago through Pulse 100.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to grade your preaching as you came through and got started with the program. It's really interesting. You kind of, for those people who haven't done Pulse 100 yet and should, pulseevangelism.org/pulse100, I believe is the link. We'll put it up right here.
Do it.
You start by sending in a video of yourself giving some kind of gospel message, but then when you arrive, you've got to preach. Kind of like you're trying out for American Idol in a way. You go into a room, probably no windows, 3 judges. You got to give your gospel right there on the spot to 3 people. Can be a little awkward
and nerve-wracking.
And I do remember when you came into the room. Yes. I mean, it was great. Tell me about how you introduced yourself.
So I had a friend, Hector. Shout out, Hector. I love you.
Hector.
And he and I wore a similar colored hoodie. I think it was a blue hoodie. And we somehow drew the same room. So you had already graded. You and the 2 other people had already graded his sermon.
Yep.
And
he was good.
Yeah, he did really great. He's good at talking about Jesus and presenting the gospel. I mean, he practiced with me and I practiced with him. And so I know his message was really good. And I just walked in there and Hector was at the time a Pulse 100 intern. So, or not a Pulse 100 intern, a Pulse intern. So I think he was a fall intern there. And so I figured that a couple of the judges knew him pretty well. And we were wearing similar things. So I walk in and my heart was pounding through my chest. And I hinged everything on this one joke. And I said, hey, I know what you're probably thinking. Didn't we already grade this guy earlier? But no, that was just my twin brother, Hector. And just everyone stared at me for a couple seconds, blank faced. And I thought the sermon was over before it even started. I was like, man, I just completely just blew that. And you start dying laughing.
Then you hear my wheezy laugh in the background. It was funny to me, at least. And
one of the judges didn't even laugh. One of them just stared at me in disappointment.
I mean, it was closer to wokeism days, so people probably like, man, that country boy's a racist. I don't know.
It had nothing to do with that. Yeah. It was just the fact that we had matching blue hoodies.
Yeah, but it was crazy because both of you, as far as giving evangelism messages in my room that year from the fellas, those were the 2 most memorable. I mean, there was some really great people who came through our room. Abraham came through the room that year. Shout out to Abraham.
I thought he was cohort 1.
Oh, that's true. He did come through my room a year before that. Dang it. I messed that up.
I love Abraham, though. Shout out Abraham.
No, shout out to Abraham. So, see, that makes it even more memorable. Like, even the people that I thought were coming through the room that year didn't come through the room. That's right. He was cohort one. But you gave a really good analogy. Queen of England. I still remember it. Tell us a little more. I know you remember all your stuff.
I had two. I had Queen of England and Betty White.
Yeah, let's do a little bit of. You don't have to do the whole preach, but give a little bit of
the
that.
Queen of England was. I was on my college campus, and people were all talking about how the Queen of England had died. And I was just talking about how most of us had never met the Queen of England. Most of us had probably never been to England. And yet the whole entire news of the Queen of England had traveled all across the world. I mean, you were basically living under a rock if you didn't know that. And I was just talking about how in the same way we could be doing the same thing with the death and resurrection of Jesus and spreading the gospel and what it meant if we were truly passionate about it and cared about it in the way that we cared about the Queen of England dying.
I love that. And then Betty White. Let's do that one.
Betty White was crazy. So I was at my first Passion conference, and I was in the Airbnb, and I ended up getting, one of my friends was like, hey, Betty White died. And, you know, of course, people just say random things nowadays. And at that time, we thought Betty White would never die, basically.
That's true.
She was so old. It was
That's
just,
true.
she's never dying.
Exactly.
And so I looked it up, and it was true that she had died. And the first thing that popped up underneath the announcement of her death was on her Twitter. It was Twitter at the time. And I clicked on it, and the very last thing that she had posted was an invitation in a couple weeks for people to join. It was either like a live stream or something to do with coverage for her 100th birthday. And she was encouraging people, hey, celebrate my 100th birthday with me. Click on this. They're doing a special in a couple weeks. And I was like, man, Betty White was 99 years old, and she still was not planning on dying. She was still planning out her life, planning out her 100th birthday. And a lot of times we just think we have time, and 150,000 people die every single day, and tomorrow's not promised. And, you know, there's not a guarantee to be able to spread the gospel to people later on. I mean, today is the day.
It's the day of salvation.
Amen.
Yeah. I mean, that was good. And so out of our room, like, we as the judges, we put you forward to kind of showcase that evening in front of the whole new cohort. And Alan ripped it. Alan tore it up. It was good. It was awesome. And that was kind of like the beginning of our friendship, right? Because it kind of set like a precedent for the year. And we got to hang out a little bit. And then I learned that you and your brother had grown up in the good old CFC Church of Christ.
COC, baby.
And so that probably gave us a little bit more of a kindred spirit, too, because we could kind of identify with each other's upbringing a little bit.
Yeah.
So that was kind of interesting, too. And other things kind of I remember from that year is, besides just hanging out with you guys at the different retreats, is I started, that's when I started my role at Global Network of Evangelists and started kind of tapping you on the shoulder saying, hey, you want to go on mission with me this summer? Because I'd been tasked to bring a couple young people to Kenya. So I was like, who am I gonna take?
You got me there.
That's right. And you went to Kenya with us, huh?
Sure did.
It was pretty cool. You stressed out a lot, though.
Yes.
In the lead up to it. It was
for sure.
It's a pretty straightforward process.
Yeah.
But getting a passport, I get it. That's stressful. Making sure it comes on time. Getting your plane ticket.
Yeah.
Yeah, but even before all that, like, even before we left, like, just that whole month, 6 weeks maybe leading up to leaving, you were stressing.
Oh, yeah. I almost didn't go.
I know. I had to give you some pep talks.
I think the only thing that really got me through it is that the Bible talks about let your yes be your yes and your no be your no. And I committed to going, and I gave you my yes. So I ultimately decided to honor that.
Yep. And I mean, I'd get these calls from you where you just wanted some assurance. And I remember being at Fill the Stadium, another Pulse event, and I was in actually the OU store with another buddy, and we were actually buying a OU jersey for Nick Hall so that he could wear when he was preaching.
Yeah.
And so we're like walking through there trying to figure some stuff out. And you gave me a call, and I was actually watching another Pulse staff member's kids, and they're running around. We're playing video games. and I had to go pee
We're
so
telling
bad.
this story?
I had to go so bad. But the thing is like there was no bathroom in this little store. And I'm like dancing around, waiting for Jay to finish buying Nick's jersey, watching the kids run amok. I was trying to distract myself by playing a little video game they had in the corner. And you called, and I'm trying to give you my attention, but I'm like dancing around the store. You remember that phone call?
Yes.
Tell me what you remember about that phone call.
I remember calling you. It was something to do with the trip. And you were like, yeah, like if you're gonna go with me, we're gonna have a blast, and I'm gonna pour into you so much you're gonna be peeing for days. And I said what? And you said, yeah, it's gonna be awesome. You're gonna be so filled with everything that you're gonna be like. Now I'm gonna pour into you that you're just gonna be peeing for days.
I would have never come up with that language, but here's what happened. Like you were like, man, I just really appreciate you pouring into me, Tom. Like you started the visual, but I had to pee, and I said, bro, you're gonna be peeing for days. I'm gonna pour into you so much.
I'm gonna fill you up so much.
Oh my gosh! And then you were like, what?
Yes.
That's probably the first unhinged thing I ever said to you.
Probably.
And
yeah.
we laughed a bunch, and then I think the bottom line is just those jitters before going on mission. It's an easy thing to kind of, well, it's a hard thing when you're feeling stuff, but like once you pass through that anxiety and stress and you kind of push through that phase and you're actually going, like mentally shift. Like once you arrived at my house and stuff, like what happened on the other side of those emotions, you know, when you actually were ready to go, ticket in hand, you're moving, you're traveling.
I mean, it was just get up and go. There wasn't a lot of time to think about it. I mean, we had like a 12:40 a.m. flight out of Boston.
It's true.
And I wasn't sitting close to you guys, so I was just on my own doing my own thing.
Yeah, but like it shifted, like because there was several of us that went together. David Hogato went with us too, so we all met up in New London at the train station. His mom and dad came to see him off and pray for him as he went, and we got to start building a friendship, right? And the rapport and the good times. Like they started long before we got on mission. And you had introduced me to something called the turkey call.
We're not going there.
We are totally going there.
What's next on the agenda?
It started right there in the little pub right before we got on the train. Well, you had already done a turkey call for me at a Pulse retreat, so I knew what it was.
And then you asked me to do it for David.
In public, yeah. At the restaurant, I'm like, you got to do the turkey call.
And then at the airport.
And then when we saw Julia.
And then in Dubai.
You've got to do the turkey call.
And then in Kenya.
You got to do the turkey call. Yeah, so we pretty much did that turkey call in like at least, let's see, America, Dubai, Kenya, but also cities. As far as cities go, it must have been 5 or 6 cities.
Yeah.
Around the world.
And it's hard to get out of it whenever you're the one introducing me to all these leaders that you know.
That's amazing.
And get this, your introduction is, hey, this is Alan. This is a kid I met from Pulse. He has an incredible turkey call. He should show you. And of course, my response is, no, like, it's all good. We're good. This is definitely not an appropriate time, nor do I want that to be my first introduction. And to which they obviously are going to respond, no, I want to hear this turkey call.
Exactly.
Like, share it with me. Like, you would just I never brought it up. I never wanted to share it. And you were always like the first thing you introduced. And so now they're intrigued.
Yeah.
And that was my first impression for so many different people.
And I got to film it. It may be my most viewed social media post of my entire life. It's amazing. It is amazing. And we filmed that turkey call. I'm going to play it for all of you guys right now. Because, I mean, for those of you who haven't seen it, it's so worth the watch. So, Alan Stokes doing the turkey call right now.
Here's how you call it.
Let's go. Just do it.
Right here. They're not even gonna turn. They're just gonna like look back to their food. They won't care. They're not gonna care. Dog, you have no clue. Dog, I want to know. Yes, you gotta do it. Go 3, 2, 1, and go. Here's how you call it.
So do you know how to call a turkey with your bare hands?
Do I?
It's a serious question. You want me to show you?
Of course.
So do y'all like ever turkey hunt or anything like that? Do y'all know how to call a turkey with your bare hands? Have y'all ever gone like turkey hunting before?
Yes.
Yeah? Do you know how to call a turkey with your bare hands?
You know, turkeys have been pretty nasty in my experience.
You want me to show you?
Yes.
You want to learn?
Yeah, come on.
So you take your left hand and you cup it like this.
We have a turkey mountain in our town, but it's more like a hill. It's like the tallest mountain in Oklahoma. It's like a 15-minute walk up.
This turkey call is like pretty effective.
All right.
Like it's something you can use like in any situation.
Okay.
You take your left hand and you
Do
cup
it-
it in a
do
C
it,
like
Carissa.
that.
See for
And
Carissa.
then you take your right hand and you cup it like a C. You put them together, but you see how like you can see my eye through there?
Yeah.
See how you can see like my eye through it, like they're not all the way together? You see how like you can see like right through, you want to keep a little bit of the gap?
Yeah.
And then you just line up your thumbs like this. And you line up your thumbs like that.
No.
And then you gently place your lips on your thumbs. And then you gently place your lips on your thumbs and you go, "Come here, turkey! Come 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 here, turkey!"
Oh, God. What you think?
Oh god.
Dude, you're a loser. Amazing, right?
That's one way to describe it.
See, and this is where my relationship with your now wife begun, because while we're on mission, I'm starting to like text her a little bit and say, here's what we're doing, sending her embarrassing photos of you.
Yeah.
By the time we get to clipping this turkey call together, she's like, that's incredible, Tom. Let's share it together.
Oh yeah, she loved it.
She put it everywhere. And even like a month ago, she's like, for anyone who's forgotten this turkey call, let me remind you. And she put it back out there in front of the public again.
Yeah.
Does my heart so proud.
She was showing the video to people at a graduation party we were at last month.
Oh
I mean,
my gosh.
it still goes around.
That's fantastic. So that turkey call, you must have thought it was a good idea at one point. Maybe now you're like, I wish I'd never.
I don't regret it. I mean, it's hilarious.
It is hilarious.
It's not my identity, or you know.
You sure?
I also don't think it's a great way to introduce myself to, leaders.
I think
and
it's
ministry
brilliant.
people.
I think that humor is a great way to build a bridge with people, And I think that even the way you introduced yourself at Pulse was humor, and it really does help break down walls, especially if you're traveling to a new culture.
Yeah.
Being able to make a human connection, whatever that emotion is, like it helps to make friendships that last,
For sure.
So we get out to the mission field, and you are, there was others there, but I would say of all the people that I brought on that first trip, you were the first person that I really made a connection with and said, hey, let's travel together to share the gospel.
Mm-hmm.
And you others also follow along, but in my mind, I consider you the first recruit.
The OG.
For the new G&E. Yeah. And so we get out there on the mission field, and I'd love to unpack a little bit of those lessons that you learned on the field. You were exposed to not just different culture, but we went into schools, we went into a prison, we did some street evangelism, and then a nightly festival. So as you're taking all this in, what's going through your mind as you're processing the gospel moving forward in this city that we were in?
So, as cool of an experience as it was, what was going on in my mind was exactly the reason why I was sort of hesitant to go. And the reason why was because I felt called to America. I know that sounds really weird, you just safe evangelism, but I'm a firm believer in what God saves you from is what he calls you to a lot of times. And so I grew up knowing of God, but not knowing him. And a lot of people were telling me, if you go to Africa, we went to Kenya, you're going to see how poor they are. You're going to feel so bad. You're going to be so appreciative for the things that you have. And we went down there, and yeah, so many people, like thousands of people gave their life to Jesus. And we're going into schools that have their generators stolen, and their floors are literally mud. I mean, they don't even have floors in these schools. The kids go to school in boots. And, you know, there's a lot of people that are hungry and don't have homes. And I'm witnessing all that. And the only thing that's going through my mind is, I mean, yes, I'm appreciative for the things I have, but my heart was breaking for the fact that Americans, in my mind, were the poor people. In the sense of, whenever we were down in Kenya, there was no need to break through for their need for Jesus. Everything in their life and everything in their situation.
Slow that down more, because that's an easy thing to miss. Like, let's understand what you're trying to say.
So I think a lot of times, Jesus says at the beginning, Matthew 5, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven." Those are the people who realize that they are spiritually bankrupt and their deep need and dependency on Jesus, that they truly need Jesus to get through their day. And so in Kenya, a lot of these people's circumstances open their eyes to their need for God. They needed God to provide for them on a daily basis. I mean, they could not get through their circumstances and their situations without Jesus. And so whenever you go into those places and you present to them the good news and the gospel and who Jesus is, they are very open and honest with their situation, their deep need. They are very well aware of their need for Jesus and their need for God and their need for provision and their need for saving. But whenever you're preaching in America, I consider America and, you know, first world countries kind of like America as the poorest people, because we are the ones who are least aware of our need on Jesus.
Wow.
And so whenever I was down there, my heart was truly breaking for America, because oftentimes we see people's physical needs as they're the poor ones, but I see it as the people who are so blessed with money and so blessed with things that it's almost as if they could go their entire life without ever needing Jesus.
Wow.
And they're the poor ones
profound,
because they don't realize how much they need Jesus. And so my whole entire world and wave of evangelism and heart was transformed for America. Not that going to Kenya wasn't good or that we shouldn't go out to all nations, but I'm a firm believer that you should have no business in going to Kenya to not do something that you wouldn't do in your own hometown and for the own people around you.
Yeah, that makes sense. But like inversely, I would say that sometimes when you go on mission, it does activate you to think missionally about
Absolutely.
Home. So in that case, you know, I'd advocate for young people to go on mission, to learn to live on mission.
Yes.
All the time, you know. And
yeah. I'm not against it. It was great. I would do it all over again.
Yeah. I think back to when I went to India, and I actually had a very similar posture to you when I got dragged out there by my friend who made it a big portion of his life's mission to serve in India. And he made a point to let me experience the most difficult circumstances for these people, like the smells, just the utter poverty. I remember going into the slum before I was getting ready to speak at a slum church, pretty big slum church actually, and the driver who worked for my friend Brad Butcher takes me into the slum, and the smell was so bad I had to get a piece of I don't know if I had an extra shirt with me or something, but I had to put a cloth over my face because it was so rancid. I just couldn't believe how bad it smelled. Yeah. And most cars didn't go back there, so as I'm coming up in a car, I saw a little boy across the river. And this was another thing that, you know, I noticed right away is that people were using the bathroom in this river, and then down the river you could see somebody else drawing water for the day from that river. And I was like, nasty. I was like, so everything American in me was like, unclean, blah, blah, blah. And I'm being kind of moved into this setting as a young man. And first I noticed this little boy following across the river, following the car, noticing us. And then I said to Wilson, my driver, I said, hey, can we call this guy over? You know, can we call this kid over here? And I was thinking, my money went so far that it was 91 rupees to $1. So when I converted $1,000, it was $1 bajillion. You know what I mean? It was just so much money. So it was I can't walk around with this much money. So I'd grab a couple thousand and throw it in my pocket and walked around with it. And even that's a lot of money, you know? But I called this boy over and I was thinking, you know, I want to bless the poor people here in India. And so I told Wilson to call him over, and I couldn't think of how to talk to him. He didn't speak English. What's your name? Blah, blah, blah. I don't even remember the kid's name. I feel terrible about this. He tells me his name. But by the time he comes over, like when Wilson called him here, all the boys in the village popped out of nowhere, and all of them came to the car. So now we've got 15, 20 young people banging on the car surrounding this boy that I'd called over. And I asked him his name. I couldn't think of another follow-up question to ask him, so I was like, do you know how to share? Because there was so many of them. He said yes. And I crumpled up all the money I had in my pocket, and I put it in his hand. And as soon as I did, that boy booked it, took it off like lightning, just started running as fast as he could. And all the other kids ran after him. And I was like, what? What just happened here? Melissa said, oh, Tom, you just handed that kid the equivalent to a month's wage for his whole household. And those boys are going to beat him up and take that money. And I went, what? And then I felt horrible. Like I just created a horrible, and I burst out into tears. Like I felt awful. Yeah. Like I was trying to help. I didn't help that kid. He goes, and I'm crying. And Wilson grabs my knee and he's like, oh, Tom, any way you can help the poor is still helping the poor. And I was like, no, that's a terrible
That's
insight.
A horrible way.
It was a terrible insight. So now he's driving me to go preach at a church. And I've just gotten this little kid beaten up.
Imagine the kid walks into the church
for what I'm thinking is like ice cream money.
At Genie, we're passionate about creating moments of evangelistic innovation that would shape a generation.
At Journey, we create a gospel movement that goes beyond a festival.
At G&E, we're all about finishing God's mission, because finishing his mission is what matters most.
I come back to America after that mission, and I made a lot of mistakes on that mission.
Yeah.
I should never be left alone with foreigners ever. I make whatever cultural mistakes possible, and yet the Lord still allows me to see so much of the earth, and I appreciate him allowing my education to grow and grow as I make mistakes everywhere. But I come back to America, and the ironic thing was on the last day of that mission, Brad took me to a regular old mall in India with Adidas and Nike and iPhones, and I'm like, where's this been all week? And he goes, oh, Tom, that was on purpose. I didn't want you to see that there were things just like America here. I wanted you to see how the majority of this country lives.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to reframe the way you saw India. So we're having an ice cream in the mall on my last day in India before coming back. And I'm like, dude, it's exactly the same. He goes, but it's not. Most people don't have the opportunity to do what we're doing right now. And I wanted you to understand it. So I'm like, that's crazy. So I go home. It was almost like a sensor had been turned on in my eyes, because now I saw poverty all over.
Yeah.
And I ended up starting a Bible study in a really rough neighborhood. I showed up with pizza to get people to come out, and I found one home of peace amongst a really rough neighborhood. And actually, even though this was a home of peace, they did sell drugs at this house. And I remember going to do this Bible study in this neighborhood, and it was like the second time, and I showed up with some pizza just to get people to come in and meet me and stuff. And this woman comes out and says, get out of here. You don't belong here. And I was like, what do you mean? And she's like, you're not getting my stuff back. And I was like, what are you talking about? And she's like, you're from Renice Center. You're not getting my stuff back. I'm like, I'm not from Renice Center. I'm here to do a Bible study. Don't lie to me. She comes out with a broom and starts beating me with it. I'm holding the pizza. I'm getting beat with the broom. I'm like, I'm not with Renice Center. And then the people who were hosting me come out. He's like, no, he's cool. And I'm getting beat. Bah, bah, bah. I was like, man. But like, it just gave me new eyes to see the world. So anyway, it was a long story to tell of how mission can activate inside of us, seeing the world a little bit different, you know? And
I'm sorry, I can't get the image of you getting beat with the lady beating
it
up
happened,
the
though. It definitely happened. Yeah. So whether you already feel called to America or you go on a short-term mission, it activates you to think about living missionally, or maybe your heart burns for the nations and you want to go further.
Yeah,
as
absolutely.
far as you can go. Like I think the main objective is that we're all meant to be activated to be missionaries wherever God puts it in our heart to be.
For sure.
And not just Christian living, if that makes sense, like as a category. So what else did you learn while being on mission in a G&E style where the gospel is being proclaimed across a whole city? Like what was something that really stuck out to you as far as our approach to doing evangelism is?
Yeah, working with the local church.
Explain.
So there were a bunch of meetings that we would attend, and like the politics of leaders. I mean, we were not only going into prisons and all these different things, but we were meeting with the local churches specifically that were already there, different denominations, different things. I mean, just genuinely the body of Christ. And we were training them in how to care for the people that they already had. And anyone who was giving their life to Jesus, we were getting down their information so that way they could get in contact with the local churches.
Yeah.
Because Matthew 28, the Great Commission, it says, go, preach the gospel to all the nations, teaching them to obey the things that I've commanded you.
Yeah.
Right. And a lot of times we present the gospel or spreading the gospel as just speaking what Jesus did, but the Great Commission is more than just the gospel and presenting the gospel. It's also training people how to follow him. And so being able to work with the body of Christ and work with the church, and not just leaving people where they make a decision and then don't know what to do, but actually having follow up where they can live out the rest of their life pursuing after God and living in a way that's pleasing to him and getting to know his heart and who he is. That was something that was really big that G&E emphasized and that we emphasize in Kenya that I thought was really awesome.
Yeah, and this was one of the biggest G&E efforts we've had in maybe decades. The Kenya mission, it set like a new precedent. I'm trying to quickly pull up the stats from that mission, but I think we did 3 or 4 cities that summer following the same kind of model. And there's a lot of work that goes into a mission before something like that can happen. When you say local church and local churches being gathered, we're not talking about like 2 or 3 churches deciding to do an event together.
Yeah.
We're talking about hundreds.
Yeah,
of
I think there were like 200 or 300 that were involved with what we were doing in Moronga.
Yeah, it is like quite a precedent to rally all churches in a community for gospel saturation. And you are going to get a variety of results when you rally that many people together, aren't you? And in order to reach, I guess G&E's philosophy is if you're going to reach a whole city, it's not going to just take one person. It's going to take a multitude of evangelists and people who are doing evangelism to make that kind of a dent in the community. So even before we went to Moronga, there was like community cleanup efforts.
Yeah.
There were ways that the church was being activated before we got to the festival time. There was block parties for students and all these pre-events leading up to these big gatherings where the gospel was proclaimed to the whole city. Yeah. And so you got to preach in some of those contexts. What were some of the ways and spaces you got to share the gospel on that trip?
So the cool thing about it was we didn't just present it at the main festival. A lot of people look at it and think about the main festival as the main way that it's done. But I really loved how we went to prisons and schools, and the majority, I think all of the ones that I shared outside of the festival were at schools. I was able to go to the prison, but I shared at different schools and a couple churches, and that was a really cool opportunity to be able to share the gospel in those spaces.
You were in Moronga, right?
Yes, Moronga.
Yeah, so for that particular mission, we were able to reach 45,113 people in 1 week. and we had 5,650 first-time decisions. That's made up of the festival, 4-night festival, 2 prisons, 25 schools, and we preached on Sunday morning in 18 churches. Let's talk about that for a minute, which means that all the evangelists who were on that mission, we all dispersed and went to a different church on Sunday morning, right? Mm-hmm. So you got to go to a church and preach by yourself.
To preach at 2 churches.
Oh, 2 churches. Mm-hmm. Tell us about that experience.
So the first church I went to, I think it was an Anglican church.
Really?
And it was called something about like a martyr church, which I thought was cool. Like that specific building had caught my eye as we were driving in. So it was cool that I got to speak there. And we're going in, and not only is it kind of like nerve-wracking to walk in and preach for a congregation, but to not know what was going on. Like I was supposed to bow at the table or something. I didn't do that right. They had to get me back and like do it. I mean, I had no clue what was going on, but I think there was a stark contrast in what happened at both of the churches. And it was really cool because it was such a humbling moment for me. Because at the first church, it was, I think, like middle school aged kids, and there were about 120. I give the gospel presentation. I speak for 25 minutes, talk about the difference between a Pharisee and someone who genuinely follows Jesus, and the difference between doing all the religious stuff and knowing the religious stuff versus knowing Jesus and loving Jesus and following him. And out of the 100 kids, I do the gospel presentation. 100 of them give their life to Jesus.
Whoa.
100 out of 100. I mean, the majority of the kids raise their hand. So, which was so cool. And then these people took me to a second church. And so at the second church, I got to preach to a Sunday school class, and it was about 20, 30 kids. I give the same exact gospel presentation, the same exact way, like verbatim. Everything's presented the same scriptures, same outline. I do the gospel presentation. Not a single kid raises their hand.
Oh, wow.
Not a single kid.
Wow.
And it was such a humbling moment for me because I guess I thought my gospel presentation was so good at the first one because I had so many people raise their hand and commit their life to Jesus. And I mean, genuinely want to know Jesus. I go into the second one, not a single kid raised their hand.
Wild.
And I was just sitting there. I was like, what went wrong? And I realized God was showing me, you know, like, yeah, a lot of kids gave their life to Jesus, but they did it because of me, not because of your message.
That's an incredible insight. That is an incredible
Very
insight.
Humbling, too.
Yeah,
I needed it.
Because when we think about evangelism and we think about the role of the evangelist, it's not about being able to even necessarily give the best sermons ever. In fact, Billy Graham's team, someone on the team once told me that they knew that Billy Graham didn't always give the best sermons. But when he was struggling to get through the message and they could see it, the team knew that the real gift wasn't in his preaching. It was in the way God used him during the response time. And so the whole team would begin to intercede and pray for that moment of decision. And that was how God graced Billy Graham's life. It didn't matter how the sermon went, but when it came time when he invited people to come to Christ, the Lord was so faithful, and the Holy Spirit, which Billy Graham used to call the Hound of Heaven, would begin to do his thing, and the people would come and come and come. And it wasn't, and Billy Graham knew it wasn't him. He was just a mouthpiece that God was working through.
Absolutely.
And the Holy Spirit was calling people home, calling people home, calling people home. So, you know, I initially saw you through the preaching and go, wow, young evangelist. I mean, framed within the Pulse 100. And actually, you're a very exacting wordsmith. Like, you're a very good preacher.
Thank you.
And as I've gotten to know you as a friend since then, I'm like, wow, Alan actually has an incredible pastor's heart. So a shifting in my posture. And
a disappointing thing for you to
No,
discover.
not really. Not necessarily, because at the end of the day, we want to see everybody activated to serve God and
absolutely.
do ministry. And even if you're not an evangelist, the scriptures teach us to do the work of the evangelist. And so for a pastor to walk in an evangelist's shoes and understand what that looks like, and understands and appreciates that people who have that call need to go.
Yeah.
But also for a pastor to be evangelistically minded in the way that he leads a church community is so important. as an evangelist, meeting pastors who love evangelism and are committed to the Great Commission is so refreshing.
Yeah.
Because I literally had a pastor say to me once, like, I was in meeting with him, trying to get him excited to be a part of doing something at some point in time. And he literally said to me, we're not a community like that. And he didn't say it like he was open to change. He followed that by saying, we're a learning community. We come here to study God's word and educate ourselves. And that's really it. And he just ended the conversation like that. And I was like first shocked. Like I left there like with my jaw dropped. Like how could you, like, how could that be your only say in the matter?
Yeah.
But then anger, like, dude, don't you know we have the responsibility to activate people to live out and share this gospel? And it was frustrating. So when we see young leaders coming up who, even though you're leading with a pastoral gift, I've seen you do evangelism on the streets. I've seen you share the gospel with others, that you're not hiding behind that pastoral thing that God is doing in your life as an excuse to not share the gospel.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing is, a stage or a platform isn't our ministry. Our life is. And, you know, I think a lot of people are just like, oh, I don't like evangelism. I'm not an evangelist. I'm more this or that. I mean, we're not all evangelists, but we're all called to evangelize.
Wow.
There's a specific obedience, and you may not be that specific. That might not be your primary gifting, but it's not about, like what you were saying with Billy Graham, it's not about what you say. It's never been about that. It's about the Spirit moving. I think of this one story that I saw, I think either on another podcast or I saw on a TikTok clip, and this pastor was sharing about how, you know, there's really no excuse to not evangelize if you know Jesus. And what he shared is that there was this lady who had given her life to Jesus on a church Sunday. I mean, really given her life to Jesus. And she had a Bible study planned with him that Wednesday, like that week, to help her get started in her faith, to walk with her, you know, teaching her to obey the things that God had commanded, like living out the Great Commission. And so as this lady is entering into the Bible study on that Wednesday, she's very distraught. And he's saying, you know, what's going on? And she goes, I'm so disappointed in myself. I'm so sad. I want to learn as much as I can. I ran into this guy at the bus stop on the way over here, and he asked me why I was so happy. And I told him that I had found Jesus. And he was asking me all these questions, and all I could say is, I don't know, but I know that Jesus loves me. Like I couldn't answer a single question that he had, but and that's all I could say. And so now I'm here, and I just want to learn as much as I can, because I feel so bad that I couldn't tell him about Jesus. So they go through their Bible study, and they do that. That Friday, that 2 days later, that Friday, a random man walks in and knocks on his office, and he goes, "Can I help you?" And he goes, "I know this is really random, but I want to give my life to Jesus." And the pastor goes, "Well, okay, can you tell me a little bit about that?" And he said, 2 days ago, I ran into this lady at a bus stop, and I had all these questions about Jesus. And every single time I asked, she said, "I don't know, but I know that he loves me." And he goes, "I don't know what it was about it, but I've never seen someone so assured in the fact that Jesus loved them. And I want to experience that love, and I want to give my life to Jesus."
Dang.
She had no answers for anything that he had asked.
That's
None.
incredible.
And God was still able to work through that.
Yeah. And so that's an encouragement to someone who's listening today, right? I mean, that you don't have to have it all together. And I think a lot of times our fear does hold us back from really pursuing the lost with the Father's heart.
Yeah.
You know? And it's interesting because as I start to see you with a pastoral heart that also loves evangelism, I've come to see your brother John as someone who tried being a pastor and he's not.
Evangelist.
He's an evangelist.
He's hardcore evangelist.
Through and through. he came through here on the podcast, but after doing this podcast, he comes into youth group.
I've heard this story.
He tells all the
man.
kids to stand up, and he said, if you're, he said, if you're not a Christian, stand up right now. And like no kids stood up. Like it was so awkward. And he's like, right. Maybe you didn't understand me. And he kept kind of trying to feel his way through it. But what was wild is that even though no kids responded, and there were clearly non-Christians there, and I said, John, you can't just put kids on blast like that. You kind of gotta prepare them to respond to the gospel. John was still fired up to be around so many unsaved kids. You know, like he was like, man, this is amazing. It's not like down south here in New England, like you get to preach to non-Christians. It's so cool. I changed everything about what I was going to say. And I was like,
I believe that.
Yeah, right. I was like, John, the track
Who
record
here's
is
not saved?
Yeah, the track record here is when you throw out the entire script, sometimes awkward things happen. So, but you know, God uses those awkward moments sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, and that passion. So it's interesting. The two brothers, John and Alan, the sons of thunder. It's really cool to see how God's using both.
We're really different. I mean, even on our college team, the athletic academic advisor called us yin and yang.
Okay.
Polar opposites.
Yeah, totally.
We're just totally different.
It is interesting because he's older, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like you act like the older brother. Like you're always looking out for John, making sure he's in the right place, making sure he's got all his ducks in a row.
I try.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you support the bait pop industry? Like, do you buy a little product on the side to make sure he's making? You're not.
I don't really get involved with it.
Okay.
I mean, I support it. I think it's cool.
It's
you
a
know,
cool.
There's like a gospel initiative in it as well, with verses on like all the tubes that they
He
send
didn't
out.
talk about that. I don't think.
Yeah, unless they updated the packaging. I mean, they have Bible verses on all of the
That's awesome.
packaging, and I mean,
Why didn't he
there's
say
gospel. I don't know. There's gospel involved in it.
That's
It's
cool.
Sort of evangelistic, but
Wow.
it's just not where God has me or what He's doing in my life.
I'm glad you said that because he didn't bother to say that when we talked about bait pop. That's pretty cool. Okay, so let's talk about like on the other side, coming back from the mission. I feel like in so many ways you got to experience the hard side of mission.
That was awful.
What was awful? The mission?
No, coming back.
The return to America. Okay,
Yes.
tell us what was so hard about that.
So, okay,
I told you I was going to pour into you for days.
First, I want to clarify this. Half of the bad experience was a mistake that I made prior to going, and that was forgetting my phone charger.
Yes, that was a tough deal.
Whenever I got back in the States, my phone was almost dead, and now I didn't have anybody else's phone charger like mooch off of. Like I could just borrow it.
Right, which you left it here in Connecticut, I'm pretty sure.
Yes, and so my layover flight was delayed. I get in. I can only talk via Wi-Fi because I have the SIM card from Kenya still in. So my phone only works connected to Wi-Fi. I have to change out the SIM card. My phone's at, I think, 13%. My flight got delayed a couple hours. By the time my luggage comes off of the thing, I get over there. I can't check in for my flight back home.
Oh, no.
Stranded. What do I do?
Stranded in Boston.
Call Grandpa Tom.
Hey, let's go.
And I call Tom, and he's like, yeah, like, you know, I'll schedule you an Uber. I will schedule you a hotel room. Get ready, go. So, you know, I'm doing that. I'm keeping up with when the Uber's going to get there with the Wi-Fi, and then I'll walk out to the parking garage with no Wi-Fi. Dude's like, are you so-and-so? I was like, yes, I'm so-and-so. So takes me over to the hotel.
Yeah.
My phone's at 5%. I memorize off of the Wi-Fi. I memorize the 15-minute walk to the nearest gas station from the hotel to get a phone charger, because my phone's not going to last. I have to memorize like every street that I'm going to go on.
Oh my gosh.
I sit there for a couple minutes. I memorize the entire route. 15 minutes later, I walk into the gas station. I get a phone charger, and lo and behold, I hadn't eaten in a couple days because I got really sick at the very end of the trip. And I've been taking the pills, so I thought it was good. So I got one of those like the Pringle can of the Dorito Minis.
Okay.
And I got a large blue raspberry icy. Man, I love this. I'm such a sucker for blue raspberry ices. They're so good. And lo and behold, I was not okay still. So I get back, my phone's charging. I'm so excited to sleep in this bed. And I have to go to the bathroom. It's bad.
Oh,
really bad.
No.
Couple minutes later, I gotta go again.
Oh,
This is not. I've already finished the entire blue raspberry icy and the entire Pringles can of the Doritos. I mean, I've already finished it, right? Like, because I hadn't eaten in like a day and a half, and one visit turns into 2 visits. It turns into, I'm pretty sure I went 75 separate times over a span of 90 days. I'm on the phone with Cheyenne. And I think I'm dying.
90 days?
Or 90 minutes.
Okay. I was like,
90 days.
Jeez,
No.
that's ferocious.
75 separate times in 90 minutes. A span of an hour and a half. I don't know. Like, it's bad. I'm calling Cheyenne. Like, I physically cannot stop going to the bathroom.
Oh, my God.
I'm on the phone with Cheyenne. I actually thought I was dying. Like, because I was already taking the traveler's diarrhea medication.
Yeah.
Like, I'd been on it for a couple of days. This is still going. I mean, it's awful. And so I end up in the ER.
Yeah, right.
And lo and behold, guess what? I go there. I'm like, hey, this is what's going on. I think it's pretty urgent. The lady told me at the front desk, I don't know what time we're going to be able to see you. This is the busiest night we have ever had at the ER. I'm so exhausted. I got jet lag. I ended up passing out in the waiting room. And they only found me because in the notes it was I was sick from coming back from Kenya. And I had my I Love Kenya hat clipped to my backpack. I did not hear them call for me. They woke me up at like 2:30 in the morning, 3 a.m. They get me back in the room. They finally get through with me at 6 a.m. Guess what? I got to go back to the hotel and get to the airport because my flight leaves at 8:30 that morning.
Oh, my God.
So I didn't even get to sleep in the bed. I had to pay like, what was it, $250, $300 for that hotel room?
Yep.
I didn't even get to sleep in the bed. I showed up, had the episode, went to ER all night, had no sleep, then went there. And had to pack up my stuff and go straight to the airport.
Dang.
And then I had like a 7-hour layover.
From
that flight to get to Atlanta, Georgia.
Didn't we have to rebook you?
Yeah, I had to rebook it because I missed my flight from the layover. That's why I had to. And so I had the first flight the next day, and then I had to wait till I think 2 or 3 p.m. for my flight. Cheyenne picks me up from the airport in Atlanta, Georgia. And I think I slept for 12 or 13 hours straight.
It's a miracle we're still friends. So if any of you'd like to go on a global network mission.
Well, I was the only one who got sick from it, and it was a weird circumstance.
It was. And yet we're still friends. We still do things together. You even mentioned to me yesterday you'd be interested in maybe going again next year.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it didn't deter you from going on mission trips.
No, I mean, following Jesus is going to be difficult. I mean, if you think that there aren't going to be obstacles while doing the gospel, then you're kind of like, it's like getting up here. What is 16.5-hour drive for me? It was. And it was only supposed to be, I mean, typically with bad traffic, it's going to be 14 hours, which is already a lot. Yeah. But I mean, just there's going to be stuff like that all the time.
You are definitely a champ. You guys definitely legged it to get up here.
Cheyenne drove 4 hours of it.
That's
which
that's
was
so generous
so good.
of her.
Yeah.
So generous of her.
She's incredible.
4 of 16 and
I'm not even being sarcastic. I genuinely am so grateful that she did that. It meant the world to me that she did that.
I mean, at the beginning, it was supposed to be a carload full of you guys.
Yes.
So you guys were supposed to break it up and do it in shifts, and it would have been more economical doing that way. I'll never do that to you two again. I won't do it to you again.
It's okay.
But
I mean, we're here, and we're getting to preach the gospel, and we're getting to do the Lord's work.
We're going to have so much fun this weekend. I have a lot, actually, like in summary, to thank you for, Alan, because since that mission trip, it has really opened the door for other mission trips for many other young people. In fact, the next summer we went full team, and it was awesome. Again, just another round of young people. And then they came home. They talked about it. This year, there's been 3 teams. I didn't go on any of those trips. All Gen Z led. There, the first trip happened a couple months ago. The next 2 are happening this summer. But from previous travelers just upgrading and saying, man, I want to take my friends in community to go out and share the gospel together, which was kind of part of the whole vision for when we started with you at the beginning, was like, how do we create missional culture in Gen Z to have a default position to go? And there's other groups working on this besides Global Network, but I'm just saying, like, for us, rebuilding the network, thinking about how we're going to engage Gen Z, you've been a pivotal piece of helping me get started in my role. And that will always make you one of my favorites, if not the favorite. But I can't say the favorite because we've got your wife.
I love you, Grandpa Tom. I know my wife is the favorite. She's my favorite too. So
you guys are my favorite pair from Gen Z, and you guys have opened so many doors for me, and I am so grateful. Even though I bust your chops and we have lots of fun, I owe you a lot, Alan and Cheyenne. You guys are amazing.
Love you, Tom. Can I share one more thing?
Please.
Okay. I just want to say this, because if you've made it to this point in the podcast, a lot of love for you. This will be worth it for you. But I think that sometimes you may think that you can't relate because going to Kenya or going to Africa or going out and doing all these big things and preaching all these festivals and conferences and traveling around doing the gospel, like, that's not really something that's within your grasp or within what you could even see yourself doing. But I want to share with you, even if it doesn't look big, we have to be obedient to what God says in the Word. James 1:22-24, I've really been meditating on this, but it says, be doers of the word and not hearers only, deceiving yourself. And I think that we as Christians, we can get so caught up in our personal relationship with God, and we can get so caught up in what we're gaining knowledge-wise from the Word, that whenever we get those epiphanies and whenever we're learning the depths of God's love, and it's not resulting in action, that we're deceiving ourselves. And the ultimate goal is that wherever you're at, whatever you're doing, wherever you are is your mission field. And whatever you're learning in Scripture, it's not just about, praying and reading your Bible, but there is a sense of we're called to be obedient to what we're reading and to what we're doing. And that looks different for every single person. But, even if it doesn't look flashy, if it doesn't look big, if it doesn't look like a huge sacrifice, I mean, it could even be just telling your coworker about Jesus, and you may be sitting there thinking, man, like, but they know me, and that might be kind of embarrassing. Well, Jesus says in Luke 9:23, the verse that's drastically changed my life, if anyone come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross daily and follow me. Yeah. Carrying your cross, not only was it heavy, but it was shameful. Carrying the cross brought a lot of shame. Whenever you stand up for Jesus and whenever you're doing things for Jesus, people can make fun of you. It can bring shame. You might embarrass yourself. But, like, for the man who took on all the shame and bore it on the cross, so you and I can have life, all of it's worth it. All of it's worth it. And so I just want to encourage you guys, it's incredible to have a relationship with God. It's incredible to seek him and to draw close to his heart. But it should ultimately also be resulting in an obedient life where not only are you abiding in Jesus, but you're doing the works that he had done. 1 John 2:6 says, anyone who claims that he abides in him must walk in the same way in which he walked. So just want to challenge you guys and want y'all to think, am I walking and living in a way in which Jesus would be walking and living if he were living my life in my situation right now? That's the ultimate goal, is to not only know the Father's heart, but to do as he did.
I love that. Well, thank you so much for being a guest today. We're looking forward to next week's episode with Cheyenne Ewing, his wife.
Definitely go check it out.
Please come back again.
Oh, for sure I will.
Yeah. All right. That's a wrap. Thanks.
Love you guys.
Next week on the Gospelcast, tune in to hear our special guest, Cheyenne Ewing Stokes. You certainly won't want to miss it.